All right, the betting numbers are in. They got way too early top 25s. Matt DeBerry, I'll throw it to you quick. Are we sure Georgia's the clear number one coming into 2024? Because Ohio State's added some guys. Obviously, Alabama's backtracked a little bit. I'm going to give you the floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was doing some research on Ohio State. They're going to be really good. They're going to be really good. Didn't realize how good they were going to be until I looked up some numbers. They've got 15 out of 22 starters returning. Two defensive ends returning. Jack Sawyer, JT Tiamalolo. Butcher that. I'm sorry, my man. Tyleek Williams, Ty Hamilton. The secondary might be the best in college football, especially with the addition of Caleb Downs. They've got three running backs: Travian Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins from Ole Miss, Dallin Hayden, who was a big-time recruit as well. They've got wide receivers all over the place. Emeka Ibuka could be a first-rounder. I know Ryan loves, those draft experts. I think he could be a guy next year, Ryan, who could be a first-round pick. But you, of course, already knew that. But Jeremiah Smith, number one wide receiver, number one player in the country as an incoming freshman. He might be a Marvin Harrison Jr. 0.20 or something. The guy's a freak.
Oh, you
Lineman on
went
the
mute.
offensive line. Oh, it
Oh,
went mute.
you did
No,
for a
you're
second.
good.
I don't
You're
know
good.
what
You're good.
happened there. Go ahead.
Too much Ohio State talk. I'll throw it to Ryan. They're going to be really good. I think Georgia should be number one heading into the 2024 season because of the quarterback, Carson Beck, returning. Will Howard, I think, is going to win the job. The transfer from Kansas State, I don't know why he would go to Ohio State to sit on the bench. He's better than Devin Brown, who they threw out there, who just kind of laid an egg against Missouri. Maybe he got hurt. That's probably the wrong thing to say. Going to be really good, but I still think Georgia it should be number one because of Carson Beck.
Yeah, you took that right out of my mouth. That's how I was going to transition that. I think the clear number one, maybe it's not as clear, right? It's foggy like it was today. But not that foggy, maybe. I don't know. But you don't know what the Athens Street looks like right now. But that's a stacked team, man, up there at Ohio State. I was saying a couple weeks ago, if I were to predict today, I would predict that Oregon wins the Big Ten. I don't know about that anymore, just because, I mean, that's unreal. Just being able to add guys like Downs and Judkins on each side, we're talking about top two at their position in the sport, just added to that team. I mean, Quinshaw Judkins was largely viewed as one of the best running backs, if not the best, and I think the first two safeties that come to mind are Malachi Starks and Caleb Downs when you think about that. So you're adding real talent to a team that's returning more than all the other contenders in terms of starters. So I think that's definitely the real deal, but we don't know what Will Howard's going to be in that, right? Ohio State was really good this past season, really, really talented this past season. Well, you take CJ Stroud out of the picture and you're pretty much just plugging in Kyle McCord into that same roster. And Ohio State went from 1 point away from being in the national championship to not really sniffing that this year. So I think that they've got that, but the quarterback does matter a lot. We see that over and over and over again, and that's why Georgia is ranked at the top. That's why Texas is going to be ranked close to the top because of those guys, and then they'll have that carried over. Right, being in that system, those transfer quarterbacks, it usually takes till year two before they pop off. If you go and look at the history of it, even Michael Penix Jr., as good as he was in 22, took a huge step forward in 23, almost winning the Heisman Trophy. So that's kind of when you see it with the transfer quarterbacks. It's not always they come in and just ball out immediately.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm going to put it on the screen. That's a lot of interceptions. I mean, 10 interceptions, that's just a lot of interceptions. Now, the numbers right down here for those of you keeping track at home. I don't mind interceptions. I mind 10. I mean, that's a lot in an 11 or 12 game season. So, I mean, there were only, just real quick math here, there were only 4 games where he didn't throw a pick. Like, that's not good enough. Matt's making a face. I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
But yeah. The way y'all are talking about it, I mean, it would make sense that Ohio State would be your number one. But the betting folks are not about that life. They're not ready to go there, Matt. I mean, it's something. Georgia's still the very solid favorite. Almost the probability is almost double what. Georgia, I don't know what I just said, but I meant to say Georgia is double the probability of Ohio State to win the national championship. So I don't know. I mean, what are we missing that's so good about Georgia? It cannot just exclusively be, Carson Beck's really good.
I think it could be the coaching staff. Kirby Smart's
Well,
done
that's
it.
true.
Ryan Day hasn't. And I do think Georgia probably still has the best staff in the country, especially adding Sparks Robinson with Glenn Schumann, who's the best defensive coordinator in the game. Todd Hartley's probably the best tight ends coach in the game. Del McGee at running back. Trey Scott. I mean, the staff is loaded. They do have the experienced quarterback. They just signed the #1 recruiting class. Now, not all of those true freshmen are going to play. Some of them might. But and again, I think Georgia is the better team. Texas is really good too. I didn't dig too much into Texas as I did Ohio State, but I think the Buckeyes are. I mean, you can't lose 3 straight games to Michigan and not do something drastic. And I
Well,
think
what have
they're
they done
doing
that's drastic,
everything they
Matt? What
can.
have they done that's drastic? The
But
money, yeah, I see your
no,
face, Matt.
well,
I mean, Ryan, but I mean the money. What have they done that's
well,
drastic? Go ahead, Matt.
well, they were able to talk a lot of these guys into staying for another year. And as we
Yeah.
know, that's huge. If you want to have an experienced veteran led group, leadership wise, for sure, they have a lot of guys who made a lot of plays last year who could have gone to the NFL. They came back. I think adding the big time running back, adding Caleb Downs is only going to help. And they are spending a lot of money. And I think Michigan is taking a significant step backwards, losing their quarterback, losing their head coach, which I don't think is official yet. But this is Ohio State has an opportunity. They've got an open door, if I can get that out of my mouth, to have a big season. And I think they really need to have one. The pressure's on over there for Ryan Day to win a championship. This might be the year, but I think they might have to get through Georgia to get it done.
You're kind of asking what the case is for Georgia, why are they still the clear one? They're gonna have the best offensive line in the country. That's kind of where I'm gonna start. You're returning 4 of those 5 guys, and all of those 5 guys have played, right? Because Amarius Mims is the one that you're losing. Well, he didn't play half the season, so they know what that's like without Amarius Mims. I think he only started 8 games in his 3 years at Georgia anyway, and they're more than 5 deep at that position. I think the defense has a chance to be better. The secondary, I think TBD on if that's going to be better or not. It's tough when you lose that kind of talent. Out of 3 of your 5 main spots, losing that kind of talent is rough. But I think the front 7 can be better than last year. But that's kind of where I start. Yes, you have Carson Beck, but he's gonna be protected. He's got a new weapon back there in Trevor Etienne. I think they did enough to replenish the wide receiver room, right? When you lose a Bowers, you lose a McConkey. They were such a big part of the offense and such a focal point of the passing game. They've got the names aren't going to be as great, and the talent's not necessarily as great as those two, but they've got enough there to where it should work. And they just the longer that this staff kind of stays together and they develop players that stay. Like we talk about Ohio State, what's the big reason why they're going to be ranked really high as well? Because of so many people return. A lot of really important pieces returned to Georgia, and the combination of that being the staff and the players, that's all of that is why I would still lean towards Georgia being the top team heading into 24.
Yeah, I mean, I just texted this group a very good article that was written today in the Wall Street Journal about what Ohio State's doing and some of the fallout from national championship for Michigan. Quote, "You never want to see your rival hoist the trophy." Drew Eisler, Vice President of Operations of the 1870 Society, an organization that aims to raise money from fans to fund endorsement deals for players. Quote, "Instead of complaining, everybody's put their money where their mouth is." The 1870 Society, Matt, the newest of Ohio State's 3 booster collectives, is funded through one-time donation and reoccurring gift from members who can join by giving anywhere from $1.99 to $5,000 a month. The group's member base spiked after Michigan's championship. Eisler approximated that 60% of the collective's 2,500 members have joined since 2008. What I would say before I throw it to you for you to wrap it up, Matt, is the money's great. It is. And it matters. You got to have it. But you got to have everything else too. And we saw the money didn't work at Florida State this year. The money didn't work at Texas A&M here lately. I mean, when I think of Georgia, the first thing I think of is not money.
Yeah. Money's great. Talent's great. But as we saw last year, you have to execute on the field when it matters most, in the biggest game and in the biggest moments. Georgia has the talent to win a national championship. I think Ohio State has enough talent to win a national championship. Texas might too. Got to go get it done at the end of the day. You can do all of this to try to build the best team possible, put yourself in the best position to land it. At the end of the day, these 2 teams might play in the playoff. and it's going to come down to whoever executes on the biggest stage in the biggest moment.
Yeah, I think so too. But it is curious. I mean, I think Georgia's the one, but I don't know that it's an. I mean, there could be a 1A in this case. We'll just have to see. Thanks for watching.